Welcome back to another episode. Today we're out here on the sturgeon hunt. We're looking for the biggest fish that I've ever caught from a kayak. I was thinking about it the other day. You know, I've kayak fished for a long time, but I really haven't caught anything that huge. I mean, I've caught some big fish, don't get me wrong, but the biggest fish that I've caught from a kayak is my lingcod, my 27 and change lingcod. And yeah, that's a big, especially for a lingcod, that's really big in this area particularly. But in the grand scheme of like fish that you could catch, I feel like if I fished this long, I should have caught something bigger. So today, we're going for basically the biggest fish you can catch in the Bay Area, and that is sturgeon. At least biggest one I think you can get from a kayak. So we're out here hunting around. I'm looking for those big marks congregated near the bottom. Once we do, I'm gonna drop anchor. I actually have something a little bit different with this anchor system. I'll tell you guys in a second. It's both more effective, I'm hoping, and also a little bit safer. So anyways, I'll get through that in a little bit. But first, try and find some fish, and then we'll drop anchor. All right. And one more fish mark and I'm dropping. Anchor. Big old anchor going down. Alright, bottom. So I didn't have this last time, and now I do. It's a little trolley system, so I can move this, slide it back so that the anchor point, where the anchor line is holding to the back of the kayak. Got the rudder there. And that should whip us around, and hopefully we're stuck. Alright, we're good. So a couple things with this anchor. One, you want it to be anchored to the back of your kayak, because that's going to whip you around straight. If you have it anchored to the side of your kayak, all that water is going to be pushing against the side of your kayak, and you're likely going to drag the anchor. It's just not a good situation. So you want it at the back so it's more streamlined. And then also, just for safety precautions, you also want a quick release system with a buoy on here. So I have a buoy here, and there's a bunch of ways to do it. If you want to see the way that I did it, I'm going to put up a video on my Patreon. So if you're interested, check out the Patreon. But basically, when if I pull this, the whole thing's going to release. I can just throw this off to the side. And basically, the reason for that is just in case there's something floating down the current, like imagine like a huge log or like a fallen tree or something. It's unlikely that something like that will happen, especially right now because we haven't had that much rain recently. But especially after a big storm, and you never know, something could be coming down the river. You need to be able to quickly release from that anchor just in case. So that's why this quick release system is key. I just whip this, that whole thing's gonna release, and then it'll be good to go. I can come back and get the anchor because it has this buoy on here. So anyways, enough with the safety, anchor, whatever, all that nonsense. Let's get to fishing. So we're using ghost shrimp, grass shrimp. I showed a little bit more on how to rig this last time I came out, so if you're interested, you can check out my last sturgeon video. But we're basically just trapping this. Oh, I'm marking a huge fish right now. I'm pretty sure that's a sturgeon. Anyways, putting this on basically like a little fish finder rig with a big old sinker. I think that's an 8 ounce. So we make sure it holds bottom. Just cast that out. Alright, now we're gonna get the other one, same thing, just ghost shrimp, grass shrimp. I don't really get too creative when it comes to sturgeon fishing. Just go with what works. Alright, second one. Going in. Alright, so look at this thing. It's a huge log coming for me right here. I think it's just gonna miss me, just barely. But these are the kind of things that you gotta watch out for. Coming downstream. If that thing, well, maybe not this one, this was not too big, but if it was a little bit bigger and that thing hit your kayak, you never really know what's gonna happen after that. Could go bad, so that's why you have the quick release system. I just saw one jump down there. So I asked in my last video You know, do sturgeon come in against the tide, or do they go out with the tide? And it seems like the general consensus is they're just riding the tide in and out, which makes sense. It's kind of what I figured. It doesn't really make sense for those fish to fight the tide. That would just be extra energy that, you know, they don't really need to exert. So I guess anything that I see down that way is already past me. Not really any chance of catching those, but hopefully there's more coming down with that one, unless that one is feeling extra ambitious and then just gets that little whiff of a scent, or my ghost shrimp, my grass shrimp, and wants to swim upstream to try and get it. You know, these fish are super sensory. I'll show you, hopefully we can catch one and I can show you, but their sense of eyesight is extremely poor, but their sense of basically everything else is really good. So really, I think that the scent on your bait really makes a big difference. I don't think the presentation necessarily matters that much, just because these fish are so, you know, the eyesight is so bad. You could put it on a wire leader and they'll still hit it. So yeah, I think that scent is really the key. Something small. Yep, striper. Not what we're looking for, but I guess no skunk. First fish. So I don't know if I really talked about it that much in my last video, but you have these balance beams right here, and sometimes the current is so strong that these don't work. It's just pulling your rod too much, but when it's not as strong like what it is right now, these are perfect because you can just rest your pole on the balance beam there, and then if that fish pulls it, even if it's ever so slightly, this will just raise up like this, and they won't have any resistance from it being an actual rod holder. So if that were to happen, boop, 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 you see this raising? Boom, I'm gonna set that hook, and hopefully that'll be fish on. So I have these two balance beams right here. That's what we're going to be using today, at least for the beginning portion where this current isn't too bad. Last time, in my last video, the current was super strong, so I had to improvise a little bit. But today I've come out where the tide is not as strong. We're almost hitting slack tide here in maybe 30 minutes or so. So I think these next 30 minutes are going to be really nice. After that, it might be a little tough just because the current's going to be switching. And then after that, maybe another hour or two after that should be fairly nice as well. So we'll see. Feel like I'm putting in the good hours here. All right, well, I don't know if you can tell from the video, but we're just about hitting slack tide here. There's hardly any movement. So if I were to just sit here in this spot, eventually I would swing around and start facing the other way. But before that happens, I'm actually just gonna pull anchor, and while it's kind of in this limbo phase, I'm gonna just drive around here and see if I can mark any, you know, big pods of fish. And then obviously if I do that, then I can anchor up there, and once the tide starts swinging back a little bit stronger in the other direction, then we can sit there and hopefully get one of those fish. But yeah, that's the plan for now. Just got that one striper so far. Had a couple other taps. I'm pretty sure they were also a striper. No sturgeon yet, but oh, this one's getting hit. Probably another striper. Yeah, probably just another striper. But anyways, we've been getting a few taps just from the striper around here. No sturgeon yet, but it just takes one to turn your whole day around. So let's look around, see if we can mark some fish. Oh, that's a fish. To it. I've got some weight to it. I've got some weight to it. I don't know how big it is. Pretty sure that's a sturgeon. He's pulling. It's a good sized one. Definitely bigger than the last one I caught. I don't know. So I've caught one keeper in my life. And I feel like that one was pulling harder than this one. But I don't know. We'll see. Oh yeah, little one. Still strong though, look at that. Got a little jump out of him. Oh, look at that. He's pulling. So I just marked a ton of them. I guess maybe they're passing through. Hopefully there's another one out there. Still got my other line in. Little guy. He's definitely bigger than the last one I caught though. Not a monster, but that is a sturgeon nonetheless. Barbless hook comes right out. Don't want to hold him out of the water for too long, but just wanted to show you guys. I was talking about the eyes. See how small those eyes are compared to the body? So that's because their eyesight, they don't really need much eyesight when it comes down to feeding down there. So I think because this water is so dirty anyways, it's like, what's the point of having eyes when the water's clarity is so bad they won't be able to see very far. So all of their, or most of their hunting comes from their nose and just their other senses. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. You can see it's got those like whiskers, kind of like a catfish. Those are like for sensory, I think. I don't know. I'm not a sturgeon expert, but just because their sight's not great doesn't mean they're not great hunters. So anyways, let's get this fish back in. Little sturgeon, probably about maybe 28, 30 inches maybe. Anyways, let's get it back. Give him a little bit of a chance to revive. Let's send him off. There he goes. So it's funny, I was just watching a YouTube video. I was just kind of curious, like, I know I've caught them before, but I just wanted to see, like, be reminded of what a sturgeon bite looks like. So I was watching a YouTube video on sturgeon fishing, and I got a bite of my own. So I guess I didn't really need to watch the video, but maybe it was good luck. I think it's also important to note, a couple people commented on my last video, that you also need to keep track of the undersized sturgeon that you catch. So I've mentioned before, we have a sturgeon, what's called a sturgeon report card, and then you have sturgeon tags. So you're allowed to keep 3 slot fish per year, 1 per day. And obviously those get recorded, but you also record all of the undersized or oversized fish that you catch in addition to those keepers. So even though I'm not tagging it and keeping it, still keeping track of it, because at the end of the year you enter all that information, and that just helps the Department of Fish and Game or Fish and Wildlife or whoever wants to know, helps them kind of determine what the population, what the status of the population is, you know, how many fish are there, what size are they, that kind of thing. So anyways, first sturgeon, second fish, but still not the biggest fish I've ever caught in a kayak, so we're gonna have to keep trying here. Come on. Come on. Oh my God, one just jumped right here. It's taunting me. Come on, can't you smell these ghost shrimp? They're literally right here. Just swim like 100 feet to your right. Unfortunately, no big 80-inch sturgeon today, but that's okay. This is just day 1 of this mission. you know, if I'm going to catch the biggest fish I've ever caught from my kayak, I can't really expect to go get it in one day. So this is just day one of this mission. I'll be back out here, but before we move on to day two, I just wanted to show you this anchor system that I was talking about in the beginning. I didn't want to use the quick release because I didn't want to mess up the whole anchor system, and I just got distracted because we're literally marking a huge, pretty sure that's a sturgeon swimming right underneath us, but you know, we already used up all our bait, we gotta go. So anyways, the quick release. If there were to be some kind of big log or something, actually earlier today, I didn't put it on camera, but I saw a telephone pole just floating down with the current. So if something like that were to come in my path and I needed a quick release, this is how it works. This line with the buoy, like that, boom, it's off the line, totally disconnected from the kayak, and I could just toss this in and I'd be totally disconnected from the anchor. But I'm not gonna do that because we're pulling anchor and heading out for the day. So that's day one. We'll see you guys on day two. Well, that brings us to the sponsor of today's video, which is Hemiway. Where is it? Right here. Hemiway. And they're gonna help us with this mission to get this monster fish from my kayak. Now, you might ask, what's in this gigantic box? Well, let me open it up and show you. Alright, well, turns out there's a lot more parts to this than I originally expected. I mean, look at this. Got all of these. There's like this thing. I don't even know what that is. Yeah, not to mention everything else that goes with it. So I'll go ahead and assemble it, save you guys this trouble, and I'll show you guys once it's done. This is the Hemiway Cruiser Long Range Fat Tire Electric Bike. With 35 to 60 miles per charge, a 7-speed gear shift system, and a 350-pound payload capacity, this could be the bike for you. For more information, check the link in my description. And power on. We're on. And we're off. There we go. That's what we're looking for right there. Wash them off a little bit. Not a huge one, but that's plenty big enough for a sturgeon to come eat. And we are back. So check this out. So I went 8.6 miles. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but anyways, tracks your mileage. And I only lost 1 bar, so I guess I used 1/5 of the battery according to this thing. So if you think about that, that means I could go at least 35 miles on 1 charge. Not good. Day 3, back out here. Today's weather is a little bit less than ideal. A little bit breezy out here. I almost considered driving back home and calling it a day, but I put in all the work yesterday to go get the ghost shrimp, so I feel like I owe it to the ghost shrimp and to you guys to just at least get out here and try it. So day 3 on the sturgeon hunt. Look for big sturgeon. See if we can make it happen today. Alright, well, lines are in. It's super cold this morning. I don't know what happened last night or whatever, but man, really got cold in the Bay Area. We got some snow in some parts of it. But, geez, it's like ice this morning. And then combined with that wind, I think it's just making things brutal. But I am marking a few fish. I think they're sturgeon. They look like pretty sizable marks close to the bottom. So I'm optimistic. I'm fishing a different area today because of this wind and just everything was kind of turned up. I didn't want to go too far. I didn't go back to my spot that I was fishing the previous day. So we'll see. This is all kind of exploratory. I did some searching this morning, just kind of looking around. And I don't know, I've never seen anybody fishing here. You know, I go past this spot basically every time that I come out here. And I've gone past it several times. I've never seen anyone fishing here, but I don't see why sturgeon wouldn't hang out in here. Not ideal conditions, but hey, this is dirt fishing. You gotta be willing to fish when the fishing's not ideal anyway, so we'll see. Look at that mark. That's gotta be a sturgeon. I don't know what these other little ones are. I mean, they're not really little, but I mean, compared to that one, I guess they're little. I don't know, man, that looks, I feel like that's gotta be a sturgeon. There's not really many other fish that can get that big out here. Thought I had him there for a second, but no, this is probably a striper. Yep. Little striper. Not what we're looking for, but hey, no skunk. Little striped bass, no skunk, but not the target species. Alright guys, it's tough fishing today. Just that one striper so far, but I'm gonna make it interesting here. I don't think this wind is gonna stay down for much longer. Well, it's not really down now, but I think it's gonna get even worse. So I'm just gonna put one more cast in. This is gonna be our Hail Mary attempt at a monster sturgeon. So let me see how many ghost shrimp I have left. 1, 11, 12, 13. I have 13 ghost shrimp left, so way more than I guess I got way more than I needed. But I'm gonna put 6 on one rod and 7 on the other rod. It's gonna be like a giant glob of ghost shrimp, and who knows? Maybe that'll do the trick. We're gonna find out. Make it interesting. One more cast on each rod, and we'll see what happens. All right, there you have it. That's 6 ghost shrimp right there. It's gigantic ghost shrimp popsicle. Hey. Well, that's gonna wrap up our 3-day mission out here. You know, I set out in the beginning of this video, my mission was to catch the biggest fish that I've ever caught from my kayak, and unfortunately that didn't happen in this video. I mean, I did catch a sturgeon, but it definitely wasn't a big one. And it stays now, so far, my biggest fish ever caught from my kayak is still my 27-pound lingcod. So hopefully someday I can break that. And unfortunately it wasn't this video. I would have loved to finish it today with that nice big sturgeon in my lap, but the weather wasn't that great, and you know, that's just fishing in general. You never know when you're gonna catch a big fish or when you might skunk. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. I told you guys I would do more videos like this, and this was, I guess, my longer style video, my 3-day video for February. Who knows what I'm gonna do next month? Maybe try some, well, actually, I don't want to give away anything, but I have a few ideas, and you'll obviously see it on the channel next month. I promised I would make these videos regardless of if I caught anything or not. And actually, you know, I did catch sturgeon. You know, it wasn't the one that I wanted to catch in this video, but it was a sturgeon nonetheless. So, you know, can't complain there. So, you know, ever since I did my last, you know, longer style video kind of like this, which was my steelhead video, I feel like I learned something about fishing in general, is that, you know, every time you go out there, it's just the struggle. You get out there, it's just part of the experience. You know, really fishing in general, for me at least, it's the experience. You don't necessarily need to catch the fish for it to be, you know, a success, I guess you could say. You know, I learned a lot about sturgeon fishing. For example, today I learned that, man, the wind really makes things tough. So I kind of was alluding to it out there, but basically when you're anchored, if there's no wind, you're anchored, the current's pulling you, and you're pretty much set in one spot. But when there's wind involved, there's a current blowing one way, or the current's pushing one way, the wind was pushing me in an opposite direction, and just both of those two combined was making my kayak sway back and forth, and made it really tough to just sit in one spot. Learned that. I mean, I learned a few more spots out here, fished a few more areas that I hadn't fished before. So one of them I caught that sturgeon, and that sturgeon that I caught in this video was a spot that I had never tried before. So add that to my arsenal, and maybe when the weather conditions get better, maybe I'll head back to that spot and see if there's that big one in there. So just a reminder, thank you again to Hemiway for sponsoring this video. And if you guys want to see that anchor system that I have for the kayak, that's another thing I learned from this video. I feel like I'm a lot more confident in my anchor system now for this kayak. But anyways, if you guys want to see that, check the link in the description of my Patreon. I'll have it posted on there. But in conclusion, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.